Okay, so if I could send a message to my former self, let's say 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, I would say what's encouraging about the present is that I no longer perceive a distance between myself and God, and I no longer perceive that variation of distance, because when I was younger I was sort of on this sine wave of like, okay, I feel close to God now because I've just gone to church and I've just prayed or I've just worshipped or something, and I go back down and I'll be like, oh well, I've just realized that I have committed a sin or something, or now I feel far away, and then I pray and repent and ask for forgiveness, and then I come back again to that place of closeness. That's done with now, and in general, I can report that I no longer perceive that there is a distance at all, because what is no longer a requirement is to feel the presence of God in order to acknowledge it as presence. And I don't know exactly how this happened, but I had this growing sense that in evangelicalism there's this sense that it's not really explicit, but I at least picked up there was like this message of like, if you try harder you will get a result. And coming from the belief system that was supposedly based on not being saved by works, there seemed to be an awful lot of works involved, and this lessened a bit when I became Catholic, but it was still there. You have to go to Mass on these days, and you have to go to confession, and all of these things help you be close to God. Go to Mass, go to Eucharist, and I'm not saying these things don't help, but the way I feel about prayer now is that it's something that arises out of God, and it's something that I participate in a secondary sense. And so there's very little effort on my part to speak of. And I'm not saying that I live in this rarefied air all the time. It's just that I don't perceive my relationship with God in terms of this waxing and waning distance that I always perceived when I was younger, and this sort of like cycle of repenting, praying, getting closer, trying to like intensify my devotion. I now just perceive it as coming into awareness of that presence that never really leaves me, no matter what I do or what I think or where I am or any of that stuff. And I think my former self would be comforted by this present situation or awareness, because I no longer feel that lack of not doing enough, not being enough for God. And I think it's something I haven't really recognized up to this point. That, I guess in one sense, that's like a spiritual progress that I've made, that I have made, or that has happened. And I'm not saying it's like that for all evangelicals or post-evangelicals, but it's definitely been my experience that when you... I don't know exactly what I stopped doing, but I definitely started forgiving myself more and recognizing that forgiveness as God's forgiveness, and not trying to calculate it or attribute it to some transaction in the sky, like Jesus dying for my sins, paying the debt and stuff. It's just that of course my own forgiveness of me is a participation in God's forgiveness. I don't know, I don't want to get too technical about it, but I don't perceive any distance anymore. And it's a really wonderful thing to be free of that sine wave of up and down, always, forever. Never seemed to get any better. Maybe this is just accepting grace. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I would say to my former self. That the struggle ends. And it ends in peace.